Today, we're diving into a really wild legal story. It starts with a simple math problem, but it quickly unravels into a decade-long mystery about a court order that, well, might never have actually existed. All right, so let's get right into it. The whole thing really kicks off with this email. You can just feel the frustration, can't you? It was sent by a father who was convinced he'd found a massive error in his own child support case. And this was basically him saying the gig is up. So, where does this whole thing begin? Well, it wasn't with some high-powered lawyer finding a tiny loophole. Nope. It started with something much simpler, a basic math problem. So, this father, Jerry Hirschfeld, is going through his case files and he spots something weird. He's got two official documents, a parenting plan that says he owes $1,128 a month, and then a court minute order that says he owes $1,028. That's a $100 difference every single month. So the question is simple, right? Which one is correct? Now, you'd think the solution would be easy. Just find the original signed court order from 2015. That should have the final correct number. But when he went looking for that one definitive document, well, what he found was something else entirely, something way more shocking. And this is where the story completely explodes. That simple $100 discrepancy, it leads to the bombshell at the very heart of this case, a piece of evidence that calls the whole thing into question. So he's digging through the official court records, right? He gets to the exact date the order was supposed to be finalized, and there's no order. It's just not there. Instead, all he finds is this little note left by the court clerk. And there it is. This is the smoking gun. For 10 years, an order has been enforced against him, but according to the court's own internal records, it was never actually entered. It looks like the process just stopped right at the finish line because they were missing Social Security numbers. So, with this new information, he files something called a motion to void order ab initio. Now, ab initio is just a fancy Latin term that means from the beginning. He's not just saying the order is wrong. He's arguing it was never a real, legal order in the first place, that it's basically been a ghost this whole time. Okay, so you have this huge, dramatic claim on the table, a decade of enforcement based on what he says is a non-existent order. So how did the state of Colorado officially respond? Well, the county attorney's office did file a response. They asked the court to just deny the father's motion. But there was a massive problem with their filing. And when I say massive, I mean just wow. Okay, get a load of this. On the left, you see his case. It's a DR case for dissolution of marriage. On the right is the state's response. They filed it in a JV case, a juvenile dependency case. The case number is wrong, the parties are wrong, they even name a child who has nothing to do with this family. They literally filed their legal response in a completely different person's lawsuit. So naturally, his legal team jumped all over this. They argued that a response filed in the wrong case is legally the same thing as no response at all. It's a nullity. In their eyes, that means his original motion to void the order is now effectively unopposed. But this whole thing, it goes so much deeper than just paperwork and clerical errors. His court filings paint a really stark picture of the real-world consequences he says he's faced from having this, what he calls, non-existent order enforced for a full decade. First, let's just talk about the money. Based on his own forensic accounting, he claims he's overpaid by more than $116,000 over the past 10 years. That's a staggering amount. And it's not just the money. He alleges that because of aggressive enforcement, like suspending his driver's license for a single missed payment, he couldn't do his gig work and was left homeless for 527 documented days. And in his motion, he describes how it all just cascaded from there. A destroyed credit rating that made it impossible to find housing. Constant driver's license suspensions that put his job at risk. And maybe the most gut-wrenching claim of all is that these enforcement actions directly interfered with a plan for his daughter to come live with him. This quote from his filing really hammers the point home. He's arguing that this goes way beyond financial hardship. He's telling the court these actions had profound, devastating impacts on his family's stability and their future. So all of that brings us to today, where this whole decade-long saga has really reached a boiling point. Both sides are now in front of the court, making urgent and completely opposite demands. It's a total standoff. On one side, the father is demanding an immediate emergency hearing. He says his lease is up in just 22 days and he's facing homelessness again. On the other side, the state is simply asking the court to deny his motion outright. So he's laid out very clearly what he wants. Number 1, strike the state's faulty response. Number 2, treat his motion to void the order as unopposed. 3, immediately stop all enforcement actions. And 4, set that emergency hearing so he can present all this evidence. And that's where we're left, with this really profound and complicated question. What does justice actually look like when a legal order has been enforced for an entire decade, but it may never have truly existed in the first place? It's a case that really pulls back the curtain on how a simple administrative process can have absolutely devastating consequences on real people's lives. And now, it's up to the court to figure out how to untangle this 10-year-old knot.